is Scott and Lydia. These two, man. When you saw Lydia crying, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Gross.
All right, fast forward. So let's go.
Cheers.
They decide to have a sit down, right? And with the translator, because there's a lot to get out.
Right.
What do you think of that combo? Because I think it was a battle from the get go, right? Obviously.
So, from a male's perspective, we've seen this movie too many times.
Yes.
You want to be honest and you break up with somebody and you do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next day they want to have a talk. And that's for them to be able to get their shit out and be able to say why they're pissed or whatever. Because it's like, you just can't say, hey, well, it didn't work out. I felt like Scott did this the right way, but Lydia was not, there's no way a Scott's going to dump this. And I was like, yeah, you've already had someone dump you before. So you should be used to this. This is a rerun in your life. So why are you surprised? But it was valid reasons. And I respect how Scott handled it. And he was just being honest. But then all of a sudden, Lydia wants to get a translator in just to get some stuff off her chest. Yeah. And maybe that's closure for her. But I just think that's immature.
But okay. She wants to get the stuff off her chest. She wants to say her piece. Because you're right. You know, you got to get that off, right? And you're, to your point, let's just say, women want honesty, and everybody, because men want honesty too, until you get it and it's not what you want to hear, okay? And that's the problem. However, is she wrong in saying that he should not have come to Santo Domingo? If you've rekindled this flame that you've been sending money to, that you were so enamored with before, hey, you should have just said it then and not even bother coming here. Is she wrong for saying that, though?
Yes, because it wasn't so much the flame was rekindled. He has already booked this trip. He's been talking to you for a year. He wants to find out, is there something here before I go back to this? And I agree with him. Go out and find out, you know, if there's a connection there. If there's a connection with you and Lydia, then you let old girl in Colombia know, hey, it's not going to happen. And move on. You know, but he goes to meet Lydia. There's no chemistry. There's not a thing to keep him engaged. If she really wanted him, she'd be fine. And that's the whole thing, is she wasn't feeling him. It'd be one thing if she was emotionally all connected. She wasn't feeling him, but her attitude is more like, oh, you're not going to dump me on live TV. I'm going to dump you, or I'm going to do this and bring my daughter into it to co-sign on all the stuff that I'm saying. I think it's ridiculous. I don't think Scott's a liar. I think he handled it well, and he told her face to face. He could have just texted her and said, hey, I'm not feeling it. I'm going back home to California. He didn't.
So, okay. So Ingrid says, and Ingrid said this at first, right? She said, why did he go see her in the DR if he had already been talking with his ex-29-year-old girlfriend? But then, I mean, you already answered that part. But the second part to her question was that he should have made that clear to Lydia. Did he, though? Did he already?
No. You don't make that clear. So let's just all be honest with ourselves. How many times had you been single and you start dating somebody you really like? And then month 2 or 3, you get that text from that person from your past that you have that emotional connection with. Happens all the time. Now you're in this new relationship and you're like, well, you know, I don't know. You're not going to tell the new person, hey, FYI, one of my exes texted me back in the day and they wanted to grab coffee. You're just like, you know, I'm just going to ride this out, because if the relationship works, you can easily tell that person, hey, back off. I'm seeing somebody. But if you're not 100% sure in the new person you're dating, you don't quite close that door. And that's what Scott did. We've all done that. So I don't think that he was wrong. I don't think he should have landed in the DR and saying, Lydia, great to meet you. BT Dubs. My ex reached out to me 2 weeks ago. And so I don't think he should have did that at all, because I think he was just trying to find out, is there something there? And then you could address it at that time, but there's nothing there. There's no chemistry between those two. So he was like, let's just be honest. I'm done with this talking through apps and all that. It's just not worth it.
Okay. Now, and Celery 08 has a great point. They couldn't make anything clear because neither one had working smartphone bilingual software, which is so true. But you make a great point here. And the fact
Thank
of
you.
the minute, it's once every quarter you do that.
I know.
And it's one of those things where you're right. The minute you decide to move on, the one that got away always seems to try to come back, or the one that couldn't seem to come. It's always somebody from the past that pops up. We call it the devil showing up when they know something's going good. It always happens, and it could be whether the one that got away or the one that was just always the one giving you hell. They always show back up. It happens for you. It happens for the other person. It's just a matter of whether y'all actually talk about it. To your point, he told her, here's part of the honesty of where we're having. But the first thing he did say was, there's not a connection. We're not feeling this. This is not really happening.
Right.
So, you know what? Now, Ingrid does say that Scott did tell Lydia that he wasn't seeing anyone else. Technically, he's still not seeing the old one, right? He's not seeing the other one. I was about to pull that up.
He's not seeing her because she's in Colombia. He's in California. He was 2 weeks away from the DR. So he's not seeing anyone else. And they've not started a relationship or anything, but she just popped up. So I think if he had went to the DR and the chemistry was there with Lydia and all that, then he'd have been fine to hop on that Studebaker and pass on the Tesla that's trying to come back in this life.
Erica says there's no chemistry between Scott and Lydia. He's not wrong. And you're right. I mean, there's absolutely no chemistry. And Darren, absolutely right. It's Scott's ex is a zombie. We talked about this. You've been ghosted, you got ghosts, and you got zombies. And zombies just pop back up at the wrong time.
yeah. That zombie pops up on you like, oh, shoot, I should have checked the back seat. I didn't know.
Now, of course, Lydia wasn't going out without a fight. She had to bring in the backups, bring in the big guns that she brought Nicole. They both, and Nicole goes in and berates Scott and tells him that the only reason a young woman would want him is for money, because he's an old 50-year-old man, and she knows this because she's a young woman.
Yeah, trash. Nicole and that whole family. I get it. You're reality star,
and you haven't even seen the other episodes.
And I haven't seen it. I get it, but you're trash. But to degrade Scott the way she did, and to come at him the way she did when he was just being honest, which to me he couldn't have done your mom any more justice. It's not like he slept with her,
right?
And then was like, hey, the language barrier.
He didn't try to push up on her excessively either.
No, he didn't. He was respectful the whole time. But for her to come at him that way, I thought was terrible. For her to say that he's pathetic. And I'm like, why is he pathetic? Because he was honest. And then the thing that made me laugh when this is just me being the asshole I am. She's crying like, first was my father, now a Scot. And I'm sorry, I fell out laughing. I'm like, yeah, well, now a Scot. Add him to a list.
Hey, Robin says, I'm so glad Lydia and Nicole got dumped. No green card for you.
You stay over there.
Yo, the funny thing is, and Darren made a great point here. As Scott was ready to go roid rage on Nicole's ass. Here's the thing about it. She berated him, and then he gets upset next. Like, you can't talk to a grown man like he's a child. No matter how mad you are, you can't berate somebody that way and not expect them to react. And that's all he did. And he didn't react violently. He just reacted a little forcefully and raised his voice too, because you've been talking down to me. You, who are a minor to me, are talking to me like you have no respect. Then what do you expect is going to come back?
Yeah, and I think this is one of those occasions of a child needs to stay out of grown folks' business. Mm-hmm. Lydia is grown. She's really grown. Like when elevators were manual, grown. She's grown. Nicole doesn't need to come at. Sorry, Nicole doesn't need to come at Scott like that for breaking up with the Crypt Keeper. He's just being honest with what he felt. And he did it in a very nice and respectful way. Nicole's just trying to talk some trash, and she didn't even want to listen to him. So I don't blame him for getting. I totally get him being frustrated. I'm glad that he checked himself as he's raising his voice to these women, because you still need to be respectful, Scott. I mean,
Indeed.
You're a big dude. Still be respectful. But he was angry and frustrated, and he was just like, "This is going nowhere. Let's just walk away." And I'm like, "That's what you do, Scott."
Not only that, but
walk away.
He also apologized later, even if it was just to the to the production team. He's like, "Look, I apologize for raising my voice, but," and at least in the moment, because there are a lot of people, once they get to that level, there's no coming back down that day, right? But him in that moment was at least to be able to say, "You know what? I'm sorry I raised my voice." And now Scott is gone, as Trisha says.
Yeah. And great. I really feel like he handled that with class, because I don't know what you and I would do in that situation. I have an idea of what we would do. We'd be like, "Oh, you're going to put some gas on this? Here's a match. Let's do this."
Hold up.
You and I would do that. You and I would do that. I'm like, "Oh, we're about to do this? Pour that gas." Boom.
Oh, yeah. I love when people try that, because they're like, "Oh, you have no idea." Hold my beer.
Yeah. Oh, you wanted to F around to
Hold
find out?
my vodka.
Okay. You want to F around to find out? Okay, we're going to learn today.
You're going to learn today.